Aggie Chambre is with me, LBC's Deputy Political Editor. We'll hear from Stephen Flynn of the SNP after 3. Gina Davidson, LBC's Scotland Political Editor, is standing by as well. Even as we have been listening to that press conference, there have been tweets and posts on X, on other forms of social media from various senior Labour figures, including the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves. Downing Street itself has put out a statement insisting Keir Starmer will not quit following Anas Sarwar's call for him to resign. A spokesman saying Keir Starmer, has a clear 5-year mandate from the British people to deliver change, and that is what he will do. Before we dig down into the words of Anas Sarwar, why don't we read some of those posts from Cabinet Ministers?
I think this is worth remarking on, Sheila, because literally, 20 minutes ago, before that started, I was saying to you, not one member of the Cabinet has tweeted or posted on social media in support of the Prime Minister. Well, they have now. So David Lammy, the Deputy Prime Minister, Keir Starmer won a massive mandate 18 months ago for 5 years to deliver on Labour's manifesto that we all stood on. John Healey, Defence Secretary, the British people gave Keir a huge mandate only 18 months ago. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, rebuilding Britain takes time, but thanks to the decisions we've made, NHS waiting lists are falling. With Keir as our Prime Minister, we are turning the country around. Steve Reed, Housing Secretary, Darren Jones, Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, to the battle for Britain, he says, in the years ahead is between a modern, diverse Britain led by Labour or a dark, divisive Britain under reform.
Now that's interesting from Darren Jones, isn't it? Because that is politically where we're at here, isn't it? Whoever steps in, if Keir Starmer is forced to step down, that battle with reform is still very much game on. And a shaken Labour Party so early on in its time in office will have to have a period of strengthening before it faces that at an election, won't it?
I think there is a split in the Labour Party, and has been for a long time, about people who think that it is better to replace the leader because Keir Starmer was not doing well in the polls. There were a series of mistakes before even the Peter Mandelson scandal. And there are then other people in the Labour Party who think we need stability. We came in and promised that we would be different. We said there wouldn't be sleaze, there wouldn't be scandals, and we just need to get through this 5 years with this consistency of having Keir Starmer as Prime Minister. I think now there are more people who are in the we need to replace the leader camp than in the second camp. But there are still people in that second camp who think, and I'm sure we've heard from a few of them there who've posted those tweets on social media. But there is a split, and there are lots and lots of people who think Keir Starmer needs to replace, but it isn't everyone, and momentum seems to be going faster than some people are sort of comfortable with, I would say.
You read out the bare bones of what those 4 or 5 senior figures have said. Wes Streeting, nothing so far. Shabana Mahmood, nothing so far. Just 2 names that we hear in the mix quite a lot. Angela Rayner, different kettle of fish because she's not in the government at the moment. But put into context why this moment has happened in Scotland rather than down here in Westminster.
Well, I think that moment was so much to do with the May elections. I think Anas Sarwar kind of acknowledged that too, and talked about the fact that he wasn't willing to lose to the Scottish National Party, and basically can't allow, his words, failures in the heart of Downing Street to affect the election in May. May elections, he says, are too important. As I laid out before he started talking, Labour are currently 3rd in the polls in Scotland in an election that lots of people thought Labour were on course to win just actually a few months ago. So I think that is a lot of the reason that Anas Sarwar stood up there, because he still thinks potentially that Labour could win that election in May, but not obviously with Keir Starmer in charge in Downing Street.
Yeah, I know you're going to stay with us, Aggie, but let me bring in Gina Davidson, LBC Scotland Political Editor. Is it, Gina, a fair summary, do you think, to say that Anas Sarwar has just said, he's my friend, I admire him, but politically, for me now, for us now in Scotland, he's a dead weight?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely where Anas Sarwar has got to, Sheila. And in fact, it's been a long time coming. This whole issue around Mandelson, Epstein is really the latest straw that's broken the camel's back, I think, for Scottish Labour. They have watched as their opinion ratings have slid since that general election back in 2024. As Aggie was just saying, there had been hopes that this election in a few months' time would be one where Labour could potentially oust the SNP from government in Scotland. But since that general election and the decisions and the misjudgments as they've been described by so many in Scottish Labour that have happened over the last 18 months or so have just led to this point. There's been deep unrest and unease about what's been happening in Number 10. And this judgment call that Keir Starmer has made about putting Mandelson into the US embassy, I think, has just been the straw that has broken the camel's back. And we know that Anas Sarwar and Keir Starmer are incredibly close, both politically and personally. I mean, they had a complete bromance during that general election campaign every time he was up here. So this will have taken Anas Sarwar some deep a serious thought to decide to do this.
He said it's not without pain, didn't he, at the very beginning there?
Yes,
Can I ask you mentioned the SNP there, understandably, in all of this. The journalists asking the questions at least 3 times, Anas Sarwar was asked, if, in the end, for now anyways, Keir Starmer stays, will you go, or what will that mean for you? There's risk in this for Anas Sarwar, isn't there?
There is huge risk. And there are many also who have been getting in touch in advance of this press conference saying to me, what is he doing? I mean, is there a plan? Because if there is no plan, then, he's up the proverbial creek without a paddle, Sheila. And definitely if Keir Starmer clings on and he doesn't go, then Anas Sarwar's own judgment will be called into question. And he is the one who's putting his neck on the line in these elections in May. I mean, he obviously feels that he has to cut Keir Starmer adrift in order to try and save Scottish Labour's campaign. But as you say, if he doesn't go, and at the minute it doesn't look like he's likely to, unless there is a plan, unless there's now going to be a roll call of cabinet ministers coming out to say they agree with Anas Sarwar, then he will be a very isolated figure. Because I also understand that Wales Labour aren't necessarily planning on saying anything today. Let
me update people on what people are and significantly are not saying as well. For now anyway, Gina, thank you. Gina Davidson, LBC Scotland political editor. The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, hasn't spoken, but he hasn't spoken in a significant way. Fire away, Aggie.
So a tweet from Kitty Donaldson from the Eye says that Health Secretary Wes Streeting has been doorstepped by reporters in Westminster, asked if he has full confidence in Sir Keir Starmer, and refuses to reply. Let's just compare that to David Lammy, Steve Reid, Darren Jones, Rachel Reeves, John Healey, and now Joe Stevens too, who is the Welsh Secretary, all posting on social media iterations of Keir Starmer won a massive majority. He's a good, decent man with public service. Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, in the last few moments has just posted on social media. Later this week, Keir Starmer will lead our delegation to the Munich Security Conference. At this crucial time for the world, we need his leadership, not just at home, but on the global stage. And we need to keep our focus where it matters, on keeping our country safe.
This is interesting. You said at the very beginning that between us we were chatting that these next 3 hours are really key ahead of that proposed meeting with the Parliamentary Labour Party and the MPs. What we've got here now is at least one of the papabile, one of the potential contenders, failing to take the opportunity to say, I support Keir Starmer, either in the form of a post or on foot as he was doorstepped. If that continues, because he can't leave it like that for long, not when this deluge of fellow cabinet ministers are saying full support to the Prime Minister. Wes Streeting can't leave the silence hanging for long. If he leaves it hanging, he's decided to run, hasn't he?
I'm sure he can't allow it to hang for long. To Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, I'm not sure we have heard from yet, but I imagine we are now in a position that so many people have posted in such a short amount of time that we are going to need to hear either way
from all of them.
From all of them, yeah, that is the situation we are currently in. And I think, it is fair to say it is perilous for Keir Starmer, isn't it? I mean, I was speaking to a minister earlier who just said it is end of days, and that's the situation we're in. No matter, it might not get to that, but that is where ministers think we are.
And here's the sliver of potential hope, anyway, where that's not the outcome yet. I think it's going to be the outcome soon, but perhaps not today. I was postulating at the beginning of the programme, this is a man who became Prime Minister because of who the others were, rather than because of who he was. And caller after caller after caller to LBC said that to me, both before and during the general election campaign. I'm voting for Starmer, I'm voting for Labour, not because I love them, not because I really trust them, but we've got to get this lot out. That was essentially the motivation of a lot of people. Not everybody, but a lot of people. I wonder whether he might survive this moment, for now, simply because the wider party and the general leadership there in the cabinet are thinking, we can't be bumped into this. We haven't got a plan. We haven't got an obvious replacement. We haven't got a plan. Not yet.
And there isn't one candidate for everyone to coalesce around either. It's not like in Tony Blair's day where Gordon Brown was constantly waiting in the wings. Yes, there are people, the names we've just been talking about.
Bridget Phillipson, support.
Bridget Phillipson's just posted
Education
in support.
Secretary, yeah.
But the names we're just talking about, the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, Angela Rayner, the former Deputy Prime Minister, Lucy Powell, potentially, who is, of course, the Labour Deputy Leader. Those names... there is not one that everyone in the Labour Party wants to be leader. So does that mean a very bloody leadership contest after Keir Starmer's resigned? And also, I think it's worth pointing out, what if Keir Starmer doesn't resign and he decides, as he said previously, that he would fight in any leadership race? Well, according to current polling, the only two people that would actually beat Keir Starmer are Angela Rayner, who of course has her HMRC tax affairs hanging over her, and Andy Burnham, who is not an MP, so he cannot run. I mean, he's the most popular actually by far with Labour members.
But he's currently locked out, isn't he?
Yeah, he's currently locked out.
Stay with us, Aggie. Aggie Chambre, LBC's Deputy Political Editor, will be